And so kind of like my frame of mind for anything other than worlds is I want to have a set plan now, practice reps for what worlds is going to be, and then how many times can I get beat by like the toughest guys around.
Yeah, I wish I was one of them, but I was not. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of ATOS Type Podcast. It's your host Travis. Today I have a very special guest in Ben Brandon. Dude, this is one of, if you guys, I think only a few of you have seen my competition footage, my good round and then my bad round. And Ben was one of the bad rounds that I competed against. And after the competition, I just connected with him, man, because I was like, this dude seems cool, like very humble person, even at the competition and victory and everything like that. So I just want to talk to you. And you've obviously accomplished a lot already in your short jiu-jitsu career, and we'll get into that and everything like that. But I just want to thank you, man, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
Yeah. So, hey, for everyone at home that doesn't know who you are, if you want to give a quick introduction to who you are and how you got into jiu-jitsu and everything like that, and we'll go from there.
Sweet. Yeah, so like you said, my name is Ben Brandon. 36. Yeah, 36 years old. I just got my purple belt about a month and a half ago, and I first started jiu-jitsu in 2016
Mm.
for a month down in Nevada, and then they changed their schedule, and so it didn't fit for me anymore. And so ever since then, I'd wanted to get back into it, but no time where the combination of me making enough money to join a jiu-jitsu school and living in an area where they're actually they had jiu-jitsu, that combination wasn't really met till 2020. And so I wanted to since then, but a buddy of mine, actually, I was working out at a CrossFit down here in Tacoma, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna have jiu-jitsu classes." And in 2020, they weren't even supposed to be having CrossFit classes, and so
Yeah.
so I was like, jiu-jitsu, underground jiu-jitsu, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. So within 6 months, I didn't go to CrossFit anymore. But
Dude, I'm right there with you. That's kind of like how my story started. Also, like I was a CrossFit coach, heavily into CrossFit. Our
oh,
gym
it's funny.
owner is also our CrossFit academy or CrossFit gym owner,
Yeah.
and he was a blue belt at the time. Got his purple belt right after he opened up the school from his instructor. But yeah, it was the same thing. Like he was like, "Dude, I'm gonna open up a jiu-jitsu academy." I was like, "Dude, let's do it, man!" And
Oh, that's funny.
finally one day he did it, and yeah, man, same thing. I think it was like maybe 6 months afterwards. I had never touched a barbell again. Like, no, not completely, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I was like, my friend's like, "Are you gonna come do a WOD?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna go get choked." Like,
Yeah. Pretty much. That's funny. I was coaching also, actually. Were you competing at all in CrossFit?
yeah, I competed quite a bit in CrossFit too.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? I bet we
yeah,
ran into each other.
probably. What gym did you coach at?
Cascade CrossFit up in
Oh,
Issaquah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that. I've heard that place before. Small world. Look at that.
Yeah. There it is.
So I know what it was like for me in my first time rolling jujitsu, thinking I was, Billy Badass, super strong and fit. I talk about
Yeah.
this all the time. And the realization of like I would just die in the streets if anything were to happen to me. Did you have a similar experience?
So yes and no. Um, Definitely, I was like, okay, I just got beat up by a dude like 7 inches smaller, shorter than me, and probably at the time 70 pounds lighter than me. And I was like, this is amazing. But I was the biggest guy in the school, and so uh, there was like three or four of us, and everybody was way smaller than me. So from the first day, they're like, "Yeah, you're playing guard." And so it wasn't for like I think 6 months. Then we got a couple other guys who were 200 or close to 200, and then I found out. I was like, oh, there was this one blue belt. He's a purple belt with us now, and he's in his mid 50s, and he was just crushing me and just mopping the mats with me. And I was just like, dude, this dude is killing me right now. And then some other dude came in, did the same thing, and I was like, okay, I love this.
Yeah. my first time rolling with someone was like a 19-year-old, 140 pounds, soaking wet, and I was 170 pounds at the time, super duper strong, and this kid had 1 stripe on his white belt, bro, and it was just demolishing me up and down the mats, and I was like, "Man, like, if 1 stripe is that
Yeah.
significant in life, like, this is so crazy to me." So, what made you finally jump into jujitsu, to start your journey since you were talking about how you were just trying to have everything aligned? What was the final catalyst for it?
So, so actually, when I was living in, so okay, to give a little preface, I was a touring hip hop artist for a long time, and in I got really heavy into drugs, and I was, you know, heading down that path. In 2018 is when I became a believer in Christ, gave my life to Christ, and I was like, you know, I'm completely getting clean. I'm getting sober. Like I'm making a change. And so that's that I like erased social media. I did everything. I was
Mhm.
like clean slate, starting over. And at that time is when I started getting into CrossFit. Um, and I had looked for jujitsu where I was at, but uh, there was no jujitsu with times that I could make it. There was a Gracie Baja school, and there were they had like 3 classes a week, and they were like midday class. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, well, I guess if I'm gonna try CrossFit or try jujitsu, it's one or the other. So started with that, and then it was just like, okay, whenever I would try to find a school, they just didn't have times that would work for me. And
Mm.
then 2020, I had no job, so I had nothing but time. But so that was really the catalyst. Was a I had luckily I'd started that fitness journey through CrossFit, so I'd started. I lost a bunch of weight. Um, I lost about 40, 50 pounds at that
Oh,
point when
wow.
I started jujitsu, and then I've lost another 20 cents. But from then it's like, okay, now I'm in shape enough to do this, and now it's 2 miles from my house, and they have classes in times that I had no other excuse, and
Yeah.
so it was just kind of right time, right place, I think.
I think a common misconception, like you mentioned in there, is people thinking they have to be in shape for
Yeah,
jujitsu. And it's so not true because it doesn't matter how in shape you are. There's such thing as like athletic or job specific athleticism or sport specific
yeah,
athleticism. And it doesn't matter the gas tank you have. Well, it plays a little bit into it, obviously,
yeah,
but it's completely different. Is like, did you after you started it and you realized like, oh man, I'm not kind of this does my fitness matters, but
yeah,
like this is like a whole different animal. Did that like pop in your mind at all?
yeah, yeah. It did, and I was like, because with the way I am, anyways, it's like, okay, what's if there's uh if there's 2 points going to the same destination, and one's harder, but I'll be better at whatever it is, I'm gonna
Mm.
choose that route. And so when I started, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna wear the heaviest gi I can wear. I'm
A
gonna,
judo gi.
yeah, pretty much. I was like, I'm gonna wear thick under, because I'm gonna make this as difficult as I can because I want to get my gas tank up. But so I guess all that to say is like, um, right after I started, I was like, okay, so this is gonna be hard, and I want to make it harder, because I think it'll make me learn quicker. And I think it backfired for the first 3 months, but then at some point I felt like it started to catch up.
So did you wear like hoodies underneath your
No,
gi
I
and
didn't go
stuff
that
like?
far.
Oh, we had a guy that would wear hoodies underneath his gi, and then you would like go for a choke, and you'd like grab all the hoodie, and then he
Yeah,
would just slide out. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is cheating, bro.
yeah.
Like, so how long after you started jujitsu did you start competing? I know you're a super heavy competitor. You're smooth comp. When I was like looking up the people that I was competing against, I was like, dude, this Ben guy is like gold and silver in every freaking competition. How soon after you started did you actually start competing?
It was exactly 1 year.
Oh,
So,
really?
yep. So I started. We opened September 2020. I got my blue belt June of 2021, and then my professor was like, "Hey, there's a competition. I want you to do it." And I was like, "All right, sure." And so it was the Rev. Um, yeah, it was in 2021, the Rev, and it was like a mile from my house in downtown Tacoma. And so that's when I did it. I won gold at so I won all my gi matches, and I was like, oh, I need to do that again. So yeah, so I started. Yeah, I think it was August of 2021.
Yeah. Did you go in there with a game plan or like
No,
did your no, you didn't? What was your whole mindset going in that first competition?
dude, I had no idea what to expect because I didn't. I've been working since I was 13, so I never did school sports, and I never, like I did in middle school, but that's different. So I had no grasp other than like local CrossFit tournaments. I had no grasp of what competing would be like, and so I was just like, my professor went over some stuff, and it just went over my head. I was like, yeah, okay. And then so I walked in, no game plan at all, and I was just like, oh, what? I was like, I was like, I'm just gonna sweep this guy, and that was like as far as I got, and I was like, I'm just gonna look to choke him out, and then I ended up getting him uh, in this super deep collar choke from the back, and I it's one of those things that like that ankle lock you have when somebody crosses their feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Never heard about it, never had any idea. Crossed my feet, and he just starts. And I was like, "What the hell is What the
Oh.
hell is going on?" And he was turning purple, and I was like, and my grips were going out, and I was like, "My leg is breaking." So finally, I just let go, and I was like, "I don't know what's going on." And then my professor told me, but yeah, no game plan at all. I was just like, I didn't understand the point system.
Yeah, I
I
still don't.
Yeah, I think I'm under the same point. But like I didn't know what got two, I didn't know what got three. Like I just know I was like, I'm up on points and I want to put him to sleep. Like that's all I knew. And then of course after I was like, what is going on with my hand? But yeah, so no game plan. I just like went in there and was like, all right, let's see what happens.
Dude, it's so funny, like, it doesn't unless you have competed before in something that I don't even know what would be equivalent to tell you the truth
Yeah,
of it, like a jujitsu fighting someone, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because when during my first competition, I'm sure everyone at home is tired of hearing me talk about my competition, right? But I was like, I just set minor goals. I was just like, I don't
Yeah.
want to blow my grips out. Like, I don't want to get submitted. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, I don't care if I lose. Like, I just don't want to get submitted. I ended up getting submitted by in my third match, but I was like, dude. But it's like I just set these people at home that are thinking about competing for the first time, like I would
Yeah.
say set minor goals for the competition. If your minor
Yes.
goal is like you want to win, then you should do everything possible to do that. But I
Yep.
think a bigger thing is like just set minor goals that you want to accomplish on the map. What would you tell someone that's first starting? Like what would a good goal be for them besides obviously wanting to win the entire thing?
That's actually a great point. So my first goal would be honestly would just be like have fun because um, the second like you know how it is. Even though even though like I was competing like at least once a month for a while, and uh, every single time like the adrenaline dump, I would turn really pale and like for no reason. And then the second we lock grips, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good. But up to that point, there would be like no completely unnecessary like anxiety, and then and the first match I did not enjoy. I just remember thinking I was like that sucked. I was like, but I had no expectation for myself, so I was like I wasn't going like I'm gonna win this tournament. I was like, let's see what happens. Let's see how this goes, and like see if I'm any good at this. But so that would be the first thing. It's like have fun, and then I would set a very specific goal of like you said, very like manageable goals. One of my I coach a 6 a.m. class, and one of my students, his three were uh, get a guard pull, get a takedown, and don't get tapped. So those are, and so I think those are like wonderful goals. Um, And so, yeah, I would start somewhere like that. Uh, Especially with, like, for me, it's like, okay, I know I like to pull guard. So my goal would be uh, guard pull, a clean guard pull, and a sweep. And I think that for my purple belt debut, I think that's that's going to be my goal.
If you guys are listening at home and you're in a 208 Masters 1.
Masters two.
Oh, you're a Masters 2 now?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
nice. Then watch out for Ben. That's what he's gonna do.
Uh, well, and so actually, the funny thing is, at Master Worlds, I I had a game plan. It was Bravo choke everyone.
Did you?
I Bravo choked the first guy, and I was like, all right, like, here we go. Like, 4 more fights to gold. I got one down. Second guy, I was down 7-0, because I wanted the Bravo choke so bad that
Oh my
I
gosh.
pulled guard, set it up from close guard, and I was trying to get it, and he started to pass my guard, and I was like, nope, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna catch him in it. And then he started getting way too far, and I was like, dude, I need to stop going for this. And so I finally stopped going for it, and I turtled, but I turtled high, and he was quick, he was good, and he just took advantage of it, took my back. I was like, all right, game plan's got to change.
That's
Uh,
funny.
yeah. So
How,
then
how so y-
yeah,
so
sorry.
no, go on, sorry.
Oh no, I was saying then my plan after that was bow and arrow everyone. And so I bow and arrowed the next 3 guys, including the guy who took my back, and then but I couldn't sub the guy in the finals.
You on the hunt for a guilt-free snack? Meet Kudo, the official protein popcorn of the UFC. Kudo's Popcorn's revolutionary cooking method allows each bag of popcorn to have 10 grams of whey protein isolate in every bag while tasting absolutely delicious. Yes, you heard that right. 10 whole grams of protein in every bag. For a limited time, my listeners get 25% off their entire order using code ELBOWSTIGHT at kudosnacks.com. My wife and I have been trying to clean up our diets, and having a healthy, clean snack that, like Kudos, has been an amazing win. Kudo popcorn has multiple flavors to choose from. Kudo's garlic, parmesan, white cheddar, and salty sweet kettle corn all taste incredible and make healthy snacking something you actually enjoy. There are so many reasons to make Kudo popcorn your new go-to snack. It's gluten-free, preservative-free, whole grain, keto-friendly, and only has 70 calories per cup, and it's made right here in the US of A. For a limited time, my listeners get 25% off when they use code ELBOWSTIGHT at kudos.com. That's 25% off with code ELBOWSTIGHT at kudosnacks.com. Save money, support the official protein popcorn of the UFC, and get popped. Thank you, Kudos, for sponsoring this episode. That's crazy. I want to get back to your master stuff, but I kind of want to
Yeah.
like lead up to like uh how you got there.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you like competed almost every month. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like what was the reason behind that? Were you just addicted to it, or did you have like in your mind you're like, dude, I'm doing pretty good at this. Like I just want to keep doing it as much as possible. Or was it like you're like coach, on your shoulder, like keep competing, keep competing.
um, I was like, uh, I developed a pretty good friendship with my professor, Noah Moke, and my and I told people this all the time. They're like, "Why are you competing?" I was like, "Well, somebody's got to represent our school," and and,
I
and
mean,
for a
that's
while, like,
good.
and I was like, "Somebody's got to do it," and I've been doing pretty good so far, so I'm just going to keep going. Uh, and like, uh, kind of the goals that he would set goals for me, and it would make me more excited to compete. Like, so for the second tournament was the week after the first tournament. I did a grappling industries down in Portland, and he was like, "Yeah, sign up for the absolute." So I was like, all right, sign up for the absolute, and then and after that, he was just like, "Do the Fuji," and so I did the Fuji, and and so it did start with him like, "Hey, you should do this," and then it became like a thing where it's like, um, maybe I'm kind of good at this, like maybe, and I love, I think, the idea of just knowing where I'm at. Um, Whether sometimes I'll compete in the adult division, and then otherwise it's
Mm.
masters 1 and 2, and so it's just like, it's I think it's the purest form of jujitsu you get outside of like a street fight or something, I guess. But
I
the
ain't trying to
rules
get into
change
those.
over there.
I got a 401k to worry about. I
Yeah,
ain't trying to test
for
myself
real,
like that.
for real, bro. Even like I think that I've been in one fight my whole life, like that I remember. I've heard that I've been in other fights, but I don't remember those, so they didn't happen.
Right.
But
So
yeah, so
do you think that you would have competed as much as you did if it wasn't for your professor, kind of being on your side like as much as he was?
um, maybe in the stretch where was competing like a whole lot, uh, probably not. Yeah, I do love competing, and I do love just testing myself. So I probably would have ended up here eventually, anyways. But at during that stretch, it was definitely like more so like, okay, somebody needs to represent this school, but it wasn't necessary because I don't really uh I definitely don't do it for medals. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So how did you overcome or what was probably your biggest setback in your competition pedigree so far, and like how did you overcome it?
So it was okay. It was um, it was in 2022. It was my first loss that I thought like I was like, okay, that was a legit loss. Um, because a quick story back to the second tournament. The second tournament, I won the absolute, and I had like maybe it was like 5 or 6 matches in it. And they in grappling industries they do the absolute before your weight class.
Mm,
Um, and the guy who I beat in the finals was a 290-pound strongman,
wow.
and he threw me like a child. And so then I ended up losing a few in my weight class after that. But I literally like drug myself over there, and I was like, it's like I'm not just giving anybody a win. You still have to earn it. But I didn't expect to win anything, so I didn't feel bad about those. But I got beat by a wrestler, um, 2-0. Uh, he got me in a double leg, and then we scrambled for 4 minutes, and that was the first time I got silver. And I was just like, I was I was like, man, I suck at jujitsu. And then I was like, but his jujitsu wasn't better than mine, and you know, and so it was like at first it was just like, maybe this was just a fluke, maybe it's, and then and so I think that was the first real setback I had with competing. And then I was like, oh, do I want to? And it's funny even to say out loud because it's all in your head, right? But if I ever said this out loud, I probably would have laughed about it. I was like, oh, no, that's not true. But like in my mind, I was like, do I really want to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to go like face some wrestler who's just going to double leg me, and then I'm just going to be stuck, and then it's going to suck, and you know, um, and so there was a bit of uh, that mental game, and then I realized I was like, I was so used to winning that that I was like, oh, I am not as humble at losing when it's on as I thought I was, like in competition. Um, at Legend or and open mounts, like at other places, especially against higher belts, it's never bothered me. Like I don't mind, but specifically in competition, especially by 2 points and a double leg, I was I was like, dude, this is. And so then I just realized it's like, oh, okay, this is just part of it. It was like if because I didn't know I cared that much. I didn't think I
Yeah.
cared that much because I was always happy after, like, and I was just like, oh, good job, man, like, and then I was like, okay, maybe I put a little too much weight on that. And so then, and so really I was just like, okay, this is part of it. And now I need to go back, watch what happened, and see how I can improve. And then just in those moments, enjoy the fact that uh, somebody out there, like they had their day. And then hopefully get him back. And so then I actually ended up getting a fight to win with him, and then I ended up beating him. And so I was like, oh, I got it back. But and then he got,
Comes full circle.
and it was his first loss. So he was my first loss. What I felt like was my first loss, like first real competitive loss. And then he was I was his first loss. So it was just kind of funny the way it worked out like that.
So how did you bring yourself back down from that feeling of, like inadequacy or kind of like being kind of down after that
Yeah.
loss? Like how did you send yourself back again?
Um, Really, it was just the desire, just desire to get better and to improve. Because at the end of the day, I was like, okay, what are my goals in jujitsu? Um, A, like fitness. I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. Um, so that's a big part of it. Uh, B, the community of it. Like, you know, it's it's the closest thing I'm gonna ever have to going to war and having brothers in arms in that regard. And so I do it for that. Um, and then C, it's everything I loved about CrossFit, except for
Mm,
you, except for you can't figure it out. So like a barbell, you understand, you can study a barbell how it's going to move. You can study the bar path. You can change everything, but you know exactly how it's going to react when you touch it. Pull up bar, you know exactly how it's going to react. Dumbbell, whatever. An echo bike, you know exactly what's going to happen as soon as you push everything into gear. But with this, no matter what happens, there's different styles, different body types, um, different weights, different strengths. And so with that, I was like, okay, I'm doing this because I want to be able to problem solve, and I want to feel comfortable in the most uncomfortable situations that I'll ever face. And so then that's kind of was like, okay, now it's time to get to work. Now I'm going to train harder. I'm going to drill smarter.
mm.
And then I'm just going to lose as often as I can. And so that's
When you
kind of the process.
when you talk about losing, was that like in the training room? You're just gonna put yourself in bad positions and just try to work out of it, and if you get submitted, you get submitted.
Yep. Well, in training room and in competition. Um, and so kind of like my frame of mind um, for anything other than worlds is this is just I want to have a set plan now, practice reps for what worlds is going to be. And and then but yeah, so that's exactly what it is. It's like who can uh how many times can I get beat by like the toughest guys around?
Yeah, I wish I was one of them, but I was not.
Man,
No,
uh
yeah, but no, do you feel like your competitive side from CrossFit, did that, like, translate over at all into, like, competing in jujitsu?
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, um yes and no. Um yes and the uh I was I was never like really I'm not like the guy who does something. He's like, ah, yeah, I did it.
Yeah,
Like
me neither,
that's
yeah.
that. So the competitive drive, yes, but I was um, seeing other people's times was a fuel that would make me step up, like or just seeing somebody beating me at CrossFit, I would tap into a different area where I don't get that. Like it's a little more cerebral for me with jujitsu. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel uncomfortable the way like I would get uncomfortable if you started beating me at something in CrossFit. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I competed a lot, well, I would say relatively a lot in CrossFit, and when I came to jujitsu, the idea of competing, like, really, um, wasn't there for me, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I was like, "Man, I've done this, I've competed," like, in CrossFit competitions suck because it's, like, 4 or 5 workouts in like, a six-hour period. You're, like, going 100%, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you're absolutely thrashing yourself trying to win every competition, And so I was like, I think I'm good on competing. You know what I mean? Like I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really think I need to do it anymore. I've proven my competitiveness to myself.
Yeah.
And then you know, I've been a blue belt now for coming up on 4 years. And so I had never competed before that the our first my first competition was at Rev.
Yeah.
And afterwards I was like, well, I mean, maybe I should do that again. Like 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 and not like it's not like because I don't know if you listened to that episode after the competition, but,
I did.
uh, I just felt like I just didn't set myself up for success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so, like, it's like if I were to go to, like, a weightlifting meet and not have carbohydrates, not be hydrated, you know, not have an opening weight that I wanted to hit, and then I just step on the platform and, you know, it's like, "Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
set myself up for this." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I kinda wanna do it again so I can be be more prepared to do better because I feel like I
Yeah.
did good. I feel like I you know, like, I didn't do bad. It was I joked about it, like, when we got reset to the center and I, like, told you,
Yeah.
like, "Bro, I thought we were about to go back to the ground." I was so
Yeah.
excited. Like, he stood us back up. I was like, "No." And that's when I knew. I was like, "Alright, my gas tank I'm dead, dude. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way." It's like, "Man, whatever you want, bro. Just let me know. Like, this is yours." And
Dude.
so, like, I don't want that feeling again. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have that competitive mindset of like, I'm gonna do everything I possibly can to like
Yeah.
crush the people around me anymore. But I do
Mhm.
have that competitiveness in like myself to be like,
Yes.
I don't want to let myself down. You know what I
Yep.
mean? If I lose, I lose. If that
Yep.
doesn't bother me, you know, but I feel like I didn't prepare myself enough for it. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. That's like I think that's one of the big things about competing is kind of when I went through that lull, like I I missed weight by point 0.1 pounds one time, and I was
Oh
like, whatever,
no.
like I don't care. And then like I was like, I don't even, I wouldn't even motivate myself like during that little stretch where I was kind of going through that. And then I realized I was like, man, like I was like, really, um, like you were saying, like jujitsu in the same essence of CrossFit, like I'm bettering myself. I had to look at every match that way. Whereas like you said, like if so I went to Master Worlds last year, and I did 222 because I was injured most of the summer and with a rib injury, and I was like,
Ooh.
there is no way I'm cutting weight. Um, I should just be good enough to beat the guys 15 pounds heavier than me, anyways. So I just didn't worry about my weight, and I went up, and my goal was don't go out in the first round. And so I ended up having a battle in the first round. I won, and then I got like thrown by an ex NFL linebacker in the second round, and uh, and he took my arm, and I tapped before he even stretched it out. I was like, "I'm good, bro. I already felt
Yeah,
it."
you got it. I'm
Like,
all right.
nice job. Like, I hope you win the whole thing later.
No, that's funny
Yeah,
because um, in my 3rd match, John, the big guy that was there, the tallest dude,
yeah,
I don't even honestly, I don't even know. It was like a transition. He got me like a straight arm lock,
yeah,
and during it, I was like, "Man, it's not very tight, but you know what? I'm just not gonna risk it. I'm just gonna tap." Well, I
yeah,
had never experienced that adrenaline like that before, and my adrenaline stopped, dude, and I thought I had broke my arm. Like, my elbow hurt so bad. Has that ever happened to you where you're like,
yeah,
afterwards, you're like, "Oh, dude, that's not good. That was a little late."
yeah. Not uh, so. I've outside of that, um, I've never been in that bad a situation since then. Not in competition, but definitely in. I train with these guys. You've probably met some of them, the Garage Gang guys. Um,
Mm.
they go around to a lot of the local schools, but we would just train in a garage. Like they still do it at different people's garage. Sometimes I make it when I can. We'll just like 2 hours on these tiny mats, and there'll be like 15 of us, and we'll just beat the tar out of each other. Um, but yeah, so I've definitely had times where I'm like, oh, I'm good, and I'm driving home, and then it's just like, oh, why can't I? What? Oh, and like, oh, and I actually thought I was, or my wife thought I was having a heart attack. I was like, I'm fine, but I was having all the symptoms, and my dad's had a bunch of heart attacks, so they're like, no, you're going to the freaking hospital. and I had a rib out, and I didn't know
Oh,
that the rib that I had out in the back, like and he was like, "Oh yeah," he was like, "This is like every time somebody pops out this rib, they think they're having a heart attack, or somebody they love thinks they're having a heart attack, so they come in." And I was like, "Oh, okay, good."
that's
But yeah,
so. Do you cut weight for competition or?
so after Worlds, I was like, okay, there's after so 2022 Worlds, I was like, okay, there's a few things to learn. A, stay ready because IBJJF does not care. You will like. I was supposed to have another 15 minutes between matches, and they're like, nope, you're going now. And so I was literally eating a rice cake, and I was like trying to choke it down, and I ran up, and I was still like trying to swallow it while I got on the mat. So one, stay ready. B, or the two, I am not 222 and I don't need to ever be there. And so I just try to, I don't do any like really hard weight cuts. I just try to keep myself around 205. Um, but so, and then the third thing I learned was like, like I need to stay prepared and have a game plan. But yeah, so I stay right around 205, 210 now.
Yeah, I want to get back down there. I'm like, I walk around typically around like 210, 212 ish. And
Yep.
so 208 is like right there. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't want to go, like you mentioned, like I'm not 220 plus pounds. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I got a dad bod right now, but it's like, I'm not, I'm not trying to wrestle with the big boys, man. Those
For
guys
real.
they're like, I'm like in my head when I think of that weight class, I'm like, those guys are like 6 feet tall. They're like,
Yep.
so, but so what made you, decide to go to Master Worlds this year and just like absolutely crush it, man? Like, was it your performance last year, or was your whole goal that competing this year to make it to Masters Worlds? Gentlemen across the nation, I have an urgent message for you. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped. The brand that took your balls to space is now launching them into the Ultra Sphere, introducing the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Featuring the new cutting edge design and next generation dual skin safe blade heads for 2 different shaves, it's pretty much a spaceship to take your boys downstairs to the next level. Join the 9 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the brand new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with code ETP20 at checkout. Every man knows how scary it can get when you go for a close shave below the waist. That's why I trust Manscaped for all my sensitive areas. I'm lucky to be one of the first to try the new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, and to say this thing is a game changer would be an understatement. Manscaped's 5th generation trimmer features 2 next-gen interchangeable skin-safe blade heads, a standard trimmer blade for taking a little off the top, and the new oil blade to go for that smooth finish for wherever your heart desires. No more wet shaving? Count me in. You know what I'm saying? This bad boy also features the dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones so that you can shed some light on your darkest places. This right here is the cutting edge for cutting pubes. Upgrade your ball trimmer and your life will follow. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code ETP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code ETP20 at manscaped.com. Your balls have been through enough. It's time to go ultra with Manscaped.
So yeah, so this year, I had I was feeling pretty good early on this year, and I remember just thinking to myself, like, okay, uh, I know that according to like the IBJJF standard, you have to have your blue belt 2 years before you can go purple. And I was like, I really was like, I really want to get a purple belt, but I want to earn it. And I was like, if I win Master Worlds, then I can get my purple belt, or if I podium, then I'll be worthy of that. That was my mindset, um, and I was like, plus I want to know how I stack up against other guys in the proper weight class, and so that was kind of my mindset. And every time I started the beginning of the year doing a couple grappling industries where I actually ended up losing to Brett on points. I did the absolute bracket and got silver, and then I did my weight class, and my only loss was to Brett, and it was by he had I think he beat me like 6'4" or something, but it was like he passed my guard with something, and I was like, oh man, that was, and I just couldn't retain it, couldn't get back. But and that and that one was, the weight class was 215, and I was like, dude, this weight class is just too much for me.
Mm,
uh, I was like, I need to be down 200 to 208, and I just need to stop doing the absolute because it's stupid. um it's stupid when it's before your weight class, at least.
yeah.
But so kind of with that, and I was like, uh, yeah, so that was kind of the frame of reference for me. And then from there, I was like, you know what? I don't care if I win or lose any of the other matches, but I'm going to, like, I'm gonna compete at least every opportunity that I can, um, just to get there.
So what was your training like leading up to Masters Worlds, and then did anything change the closer you got to the day?
So and so earlier in the year, I was doing, um, I would train like 3 nights a week and then 3 mornings a week. Um, and if I was able to, I would hop into a noon class, which wasn't super often. But one of the nights would be with the Garage Gang guys, and it's all higher level belt guys, and so, and it's just tough, tough rounds. And so I was just trying to stay consistent, 3 in the morning, 3 in the mornings through the week, and then 3 in the evenings.
On
Um,
opposite days or the same days or
just whatever was available.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't like Wednesday, or yeah, Wednesdays at the time I would do 2 a days. Um, so I would do the 6 a.m. class and then the 6 p.m. class. But as I got closer and closer, it was just it was really just like every round, um, no matter how many times I can get in during the week, I'm going to make every round count. And so it would be like start from bad positions, work my way out. Um, or some days it would be like, okay, I'm staying on top the entire match, and then, or I'm going to stay on bottom the entire match and just work sweeps. And then I was like, okay, uh, I need to do one competition a month, except for in August, leading up to, and so I actually ended up doing Grappling Industries the week before the Rev, and then the Rev, uh, where I met you at, and then, and so these were like, okay, compete once a month to make sure I'm still like under that frame of mind of competing. Um, so I'm like, I'm still ready. I understand the weigh-in process. I understand all that, um, but uh, don't compete more than that. Try not to compete more than that, because then you're just gonna like wear yourself out. And or for me, I just knew, I was like, man, I'm just gonna stop caring about it if I do it too much. So that was kind of like the process that I had. I'm not a real big like plan in the future guy, but I'm like, okay, this week, what can I do this week? And um, I'm just going to do whatever I can with this.
Were you doing any strength and conditioning, nutrition, mental coaching? Like what outside of just jujitsu did you end up doing?
So I usually, I try to do 3 days of lifting a week. And so I'll do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Um, and I just do, I develop just kind of like a full body circuit, um, that I'll do actually just in the other room here in my basement. Um, but so that's what I'll do. It's like I'll do a 45 minute to an hour but I haven't lifted heavy, where when I was CrossFit, I was like, okay, got that 500-pound deadlift. Like I was working up the big numbers. Like I haven't lifted anything over 250 in any of the lifts uh, in the last year and a half. But so yeah, I was like 3 days strength and conditioning. Um, I like to do high carb, low fat diet. I did keto to lose a lot of weight, but I didn't feel like it was sustainable. Um, and where I feel I perform the best and feel the best is honestly like I eat a lot of beef and white rice. And
Yeah.
I love vegetables too, so I eat a lot of vegetables. But like literally any day of the week, you're like, oh, what's your food? Like, what is your meal today? I'm like, oh, I'm probably gonna have 7 ounces of white rice and 8 ounces of beef.
Is it 90-10?
Yeah, pretty much. But
What about the mental aspect of it? Do you like meditate or do anything like that to get your headspace right? Obviously, you're a big believer, like you mentioned at the beginning.
yeah.
Does your faith play into being prepared for competition too?
Oh, definitely. One of the big things I do pray before every match and before every tournament. And my prayer is simply that I will be the best representation of my school and first my Jesus, my family, and my school. Like through win or loss, like that I'll just be able to use this as a way to benefit the people around me. Um, and uh, and so when I do that, I just try to push everything else to the side. Like my so I'm I'm really like laid back, but I'm also very disciplined, if that makes sense. So
Yep.
like my Monday to Friday, I'm up at 4:30. I'm in the Bible with coffee, praying, reading, and then 5:30 I leave and either go train or lift, um, and then the rest of the day. And so, but it's all like uh, it's get into that quiet time in the morning, get into my physical training, so it's the mental and the spiritual, physical, and then the rest of the day. And so that is really kind of, especially with competition, and it's funny because like in competition I'm listening to worship music um, before I go up, and so a lot of people, uh, I've heard their music and it's like stuff that'll get your like heartbeat hype and everything else, and I'm just like I'm trying to bring my level down.
Elevation worship, you're just sitting
Yeah,
there just
there it is. Yeah, there's actually this guy, Jeremy Riddle. So uh, uh, he has this song, His Name is Jesus. I listen to that song on repeat, and it's like slow and calm, but the words are so powerful that it's like okay, this is what they're talking about. How the way they're talking about Jesus, this is like the representation that I want people to see every time they see me, is like that light and that love, and like if they feel like there's any power or any goodness in me, that they realize that's where it comes from. And just like, but yes. And every now and then you can throw on some worship. I
Yeah.
got that.
So when you are I mean, I don't think we've actually said it, but you went from brand new white belt to masters world champ in 3 years, right?
Yep.
Like an incredible like feat for anyone, you know what I mean? Especially being masters. Um and I think it's just crazy, man. Like it's super inspiring. Like seeing you win, I was like, man, Ben makes me want to do this more. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So what during that final match, talk like what was that moment like where you realized you're like, dude, I just became a freaking world champ. Like this is
Mm,
crazy.
And so actually the semifinal, if we go to the semifinal match, um, that was the first time I ever got excited about winning a match.
Really.
Um, and because before then it was like, and and actually, do you mind if I back up to the whole day?
No,
Because
go right ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so actually, like, so the night before, so everything leading up to Master Worlds, um, I had beat the number one ranked guy in Portland the month before, became friends with him, and everybody told me, he's like, dude, that dude's number one ranked, and he was tough, he was super tough, but um, and then like I was like, I kind of know what that guy's about, and I was like, if everybody's at the level he's at, and then I was like, this is gonna be freaking war tomorrow in every match, because yeah, Ahmed is a tough dude. But so I was kind of thinking that, and I get a call from my sister, and she's like, you got to go see dad. And so the whole everything just kind of went to a halt. I was like, what do you mean I got to go see dad? She's like, you need to get to Reno. You need to go see dad. And she was freaking out. She's like, I don't. And the way she didn't want to say it, but in her mind, she was like, the way she was saying it without saying it. She was like, I think dad's dying. Um, and he's actually right now he just starting to make a recovery, so he didn't end up dying, thank God. And it looks like things are going the right way. But so I find that out about 8:30 the night before, and I'm like how soon? And she's like, you need to come see dad. And so it was to the point where I was like, okay, like what is going on? Um, and I was like, should I even compete? And so then I started going through all this, like, because none of it matters. Uh, at the end of the day, like, I need to be there with my family. Like, that's what's important. Um, I think you had mentioned it after on the podcast after your first one. It's like none of us are like trying to be famous doing this. None of us are, we're out here just testing ourselves against other dudes who also have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, and and so I started going through that, and then I was like, uh, and my wife was like, "We can do whatever you want. Like, it's all good. Like, what do you want? Just tell me." And then I looked at her. I was like, "You know what? The only reason we're here is so I could compete tomorrow. And even if I get the soonest flight, like my matches are in 12 hours. Even if I get the soonest flight out, or the flight right after that, like, what difference is it going to make?" And so I was like, I came here, I paid the money, I worked with my team to get to this point. I'm just going to do it. And then I looked at flights for the next day, and I was like, I do not afford to fly out anyways. But and so I was like, you know what, we're here to do it. So I get there. I don't eat anything that morning, um, and I'm just like, okay, I don't. I'm struggling to find the motivation, but I'm doing this. And so I just went in. I helped my other buddies warmed up, and then I was like, you know what, just got to take it one match at a time. I still wanted to Bravo choke everybody, um, but so
Small
that was,
goals.
yeah. And so that was kind of the frame of reference what I was going under, was like, should I even be here? Yes. um, I got a buy because I earned it from the match in Portland, and I was so all these things. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pray. I'm just gonna let a couple friends know what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna pray through it. And so I would just listen to that song, and I was like, okay, one match at a time. But so that was like kind of setting up where I was at mentally and spiritually. Um, and so when I was down in the second match, that's kind of what I kept me calm too. I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, like, you didn't come here just to give up, and so like you're gonna get out of this back control, and you're gonna keep going. And then so it was like I just kind of kept it business as usual, just trying to stay on top of the mental. And then the semifinals, after I had a battle with that dude, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to the finals. I was like, no matter what happens, like, I'm getting a world's medal, like,
Yeah.
and it's either going to be gold or silver. I was like, um, and so I was like, wow. I was like, this is actually really exciting. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I remember going up to the guy before we started, and I was like, dude, just good luck, how's it going, like, whatever. And he said, congratulations to us. And
Oh,
I
that's
was like,
dope.
yeah. And I was like, dude, that's a great point. I was like, you know what? Like, we had a 52-man bracket, so neither of us, like, we had to win. We had to win matches to get there. We had to battle to get there, and we had to put everything else, whatever we were going through, we had to put that to the side, and or use it as motivation. And so it was. There was about a minute left, and with the minute left, I'm looking at the score, and I think it's like 6 or 8-0, and I have like three advantages. And I was like, oh. And I was like, it was the first time I was like, oh, I can go easy. I was like, I can just stop. And I was like, oh, there's no way I'm letting this guy get anything. I was like, there's no way. And then I was like, I'm just gonna hold on until it's done. I was like, because I'm not gonna. I'm already pretty smoked from all the other matches, and um, he was
a really skilled guard passer, and and I could not, I could not complete a sweep and like hold him down. He was so freaking good. Um, but so at that point, I just started. I was like, dude, this is unreal. This is unreal. And I looked over and I saw I saw one of my friends crying, and then and I was like, oh, this is real. And so then at that point, I was just super pumped. And then I had known one of my professor's goal was to have to take somebody from white belt to world champion at any level, and I'm still more excited. Like that was the best part about it.
That's
I was like, I
dope,
got to
dude.
help him achieve that goal, um, and because and I just got to I felt like I was just taking part in all of it. But yeah, so that was kind of like the about a minute left. I was like, oh, this is mine, and then I looked over and I was like, oh, this is theirs, because it's your whole team's. And so like the medal stays at the school because it's like they're the people who get you there. They're the people who sweat with you. They're the people who beat you up and and mop the mats with you. And so that was like kind of I guess that was that realization. And so it was just I was just so happy for them. And then when I went up to the podium, um, and then I was just like, "Oh, this is great." And then I look out of the corner of my eye, and I just see my professor come out, rip like
Yeah.
the bag off the purple belt, and then I started crying because I saw my friend crying, and I was like, "Oh God," yeah. And then that was the very first moment I was like, "Dude, this is a bigger deal than I thought." Um, and I think uh, because it's like on music stages, I've been on music stages in front of thousands of people, and like it was all about me at that point. Um, and this has never been about me, and still will never be about me. And it just can't in jujitsu because you can't do it alone. Like you have to have at least one other person to train jujitsu. Um, and so uh, I didn't realize, but I was like, dude, there's then the gravity of everything. Like there's 11,000 people competing this weekend. I was like, and there's a limited number of these medals. There's 52 dudes in my bracket um, who came here hungry for this, and you could feel it in every match. And I was, and like, so then the gravity of everything, and I was like, oh, it's actually, it's like this is actually like a big deal, and especially for my professor. And so that was just kind of like a cool, really gratifying moment of the whole thing.
What was your biggest lesson learned through this whole experience?
Um, I think the I think the biggest lesson learned is truly just I think it's just affirming kind of what I already knew is that it's not like it's about the people that you train with. Um, because especially coaching the 6 a.m. guys that I coach, their wins and losses uh, are bigger to me than my own are. um, and it's like whenever I go somewhere, like, and even on my and on my gi, I have John 14:6, which is my favorite verse. I made like a lot of people they'll put their last name and their Instagram handle and everything, and my whole thing was like, if you want to look up something, look up John 14:6, and then you'll know everything you need to know about me. And then ATOS Tacoma because that's the school I represent. Um, but I think that that's just it. It's like that all of this is just a wonderful fuel to help people to grow, to help people um, really learn how to lose. Like I had to learn to lose from people like Brett, and then just yeah, I think that's the biggest lesson in all of it is like that we're not fragile, um, but um, we're not fragile, but we can feel very fragile very easily. Um, and we don't need to, you don't need to be fearful. You don't need to be frightened in all these situations. And you can, like, we can get through a lot of this stuff. And the best way to do it is by testing yourself. Um, in an area that's safe, surrounded by people who care about you. So
That's awesome, man. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Ben, once again for coming on the show. I always like to end each show with the same question. If you could give a brand new white belt one piece of advice when they're starting jiu-jitsu, what would it be?
come back every day. I think that's it. Just keep coming back. Um, man. Now I'm thinking of all these other ones. I already said the one though.
I mean, when you said come back every day, I was like, well, I don't have class every day, but I mean, I
Yeah, yeah,
try to come back like every day I
yeah.
can.
Okay. Um, or no, I would say, all right. Let me try this again.
Rewind this.
um,
This is all staying in, by the way. This is
perfect. I would prefer if you would only like add more to it, like um, don't cut anything out. Um, no, I guess right after I said it, I was like, um, I think the thing I tell people the most uh, is that there it really all goes back to being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Is you're going to be uncomfortable, you're going to lose, you're going to get humbled, and you're going to love it. So just that's why you keep coming back. So that's why I keep coming back. But I'm
wow.
also you're probably sick like me where you're like that hurt, that's hard, it really sucks. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I like look forward to it. I'm like, who would have thought getting your butt kicked by a bunch of hot, sweaty dudes would make you feel so good? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, it's like one of those things. It's like, you're having a bad day, you're having a bad week. You just go on the mat, and then even if you have a bad time on the mat, it still makes you feel better. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's something about that dopamine hit, those endorphins,
yeah,
that fight or flight. You know what I mean? Like you leave
yeah,
the mat, like that was really hard, but
yeah.
man, I'm so glad I did it. So, but hey, Ben, if people want to follow you or check out your stuff, where can they find you at?
um, my Instagram handle is Water Buffalo because that's what my professor called me one day. But no vowels, so it's at WTRBFFL except for the O. So Water Buffalo. Um, yeah, and so that's the only. I think I have a Facebook, and it's just my name. But Facebook, Instagram, or you can go to Calvary Chapel South. I'm the youth director there. I'll be there.
You also still make music though, right? You have
Oh yeah,
a
yeah. Sorry.
YouTube page too?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So the my stage name is 3Z, and the last I put out an album this year called Born Again, and so that'll give it. But I don't know, I don't have a YouTube page specifically. The publishing company that I use makes all of that, and I'm so disconnected from it. Other than I just wanted people to hear the music of my transformation, and so but you can find that on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, all that. 3Z Born Again, but
Heck yeah, man. So, hey, thank you again, Ben, for coming on, man. This was a great conversation. Time flew by. I can't wait for people at home to hear this. And just
definitely
want to say, God bless, dude. And hopefully everything works out for you. And
thank you.
thank you again for your time, dude. So,
Yeah, you too, man. And I was serious when I said I wanted to come out there and get on the mats, and we just
yeah,
gotta. Let me know when your schedule lightens up, and then I'll just make it work.
18 years. That's when it was. So, hey, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching at home. Make sure you guys go follow Ben, check him out everywhere, go listen to his music. And remember, no oil checks here. Peace.
Yep. See you, man.